Welcome back to another video. I am so sorry, this is gonna seem kind of off because the microphone that I use for my Canon camera actually died. It has a battery in it, and the last time I used it I think I left it on, so there is no sound in the original video, so I'm recording over the video, so some things might be out of sync here. Right here I'm just showing how lately I've been dealing with some medical flare-ups, and so my tremors have come back. So when that happens, I kind of lose a little strength and energy to do anything. So I haven't really had the energy to do videos. Here I'm just showing the stickers I got with the item today, which is the Sega Saturn wireless controller from Retrobit. There it is in all its glory. I was a little off-put by the build quality a bit, but I'll get to that in the next clip when you see it, when I open it. It feels great to hold the Sega Saturn controller. As a lot of you guys know, I am a Sega fanatic. I love Sega. Never really was super into Nintendo until the Super Nintendo. And even then, I would always play my Sega and then PlayStation after that. But just holding this controller again feels great. It just gave me the 6-button Sega vibes and the 8-button Sega Saturn controller vibes. But next up, you're going to see it actually get unboxed, which I like the case that it comes in. It has two dongles, one for the Sega Saturn, and the other one is for all the other systems. Now, I was able to test this out on a PlayStation Classic, which is not listed, and a C64 Mini. Both of those did not work, as you'll see in the video, but more on that in a minute. I had a little trouble getting this case open. I'm really terrible when it comes to plastic clamps. The battery is a 500 milliamp battery, and I charged it for a little bit before I started actually testing it. Inside, I didn't show this in the video, but inside it comes with a little postcard from Retrobit and the instructions. Obviously I didn't read the instructions too well because I had a couple hiccups when it came to syncing up the controller. But as far as build quality goes, I would give it a solid, 6. It's very light. So for a controller with a battery, that's not really normal for a controller to feel that light. These Sega licensed products, they're a crapshoot. Sometimes you get really, really good build quality, and sometimes you get shoddy, like ad games. This is a nice in-between. It's not completely shoddy, but when you shake the controller, the buttons wiggle around a little bit, so that's kind of a cause for concern. Why am I looking at a controller on an art channel? Well, Sega's always been ahead of the curve when it comes to design. Even the Sega Genesis designs were just out of this world, way ahead of its time. So here you're not going to be able to hear anything I'm saying, but it's basically just going over the testing. The first system I'm testing it on is a Nintendo Switch, and the only real fighting game I have left on the Switch is Dragon Ball Z Fighters. So the next clip is going to be me kind of syncing it up. Now, once you know how to sync this up, it's super simple. You just put the dongle into the USB and you hit the start button twice until the light stays solid red, and then it'll recognize it, and it works perfectly fine on the Switch. Here I went into the wrong menu. I was supposed to go into the controller menu, not into controller settings, but you'll see it listed as USB controller. So there is the very first controller is the Pro. One thing that you have to do with certain games, like you'll see with Dragon Ball Z Fighters, is that it does not recognize the controller as the first player. It will only recognize the whatever controller you have set up. So on my case, I had the Pro controller set up. So I actually went back into the menu and set the Sega Saturn controller as my main controller. Another bad thing when it comes to this is that it will not recognize the button keys. It'll recognize the buttons as though it's a Switch controller. So your A and your B are going to be flipped sideways or flipped around, and because the Sega Saturn controller has the X, Y, Z at the top, so that could be a little confusing. But all in all, I really didn't have an issue with it, and it played really well with Dragon Ball Z Fighters, as you'll see here. I'm just going to let the clip play real quick so you can see some of the gaming footage. Now right here, I'm going to be testing the Sega Genesis Mini. The first game I pulled up is Street Fighter 2 Turbo Edition. I thought I had Super Street Fighter, but it's not a working ROM on my hacked Sega Genesis Mini here. But so far, I really enjoyed how it felt. For some reason, I couldn't get into map the buttons because I like to put my high punch and low or high punch low kick or high punch high kick in the very first face button, so that way those are the fiercest hits. But it just wasn't working, and I got my ass kicked just because I always like to put it really hard because that's how you really get used to it. Another thing that was a little tough to get used to is the button layout, because select or home is actually to your left of the controller, and then select is where the start button normally is, and then the start button is further at the bottom. So that's something to keep in mind if you're going to be playing this or using it. As you can see there, I put it at the hyper mode. My two mains are Ken and Street Fighter. Ken and Ryu in Street Fighter, so those are the two guys that I like to play with. But I get my ass kicked by Chun-Li just because the speed throws me off. But the controllers feel great. I was able to pull off all the supers, so I was able to do a Hadouken with little to no issue. The D-pad is just something to get used to again. Just after playing with modern consoles, the D-pads on modern consoles are a lot stiffer. But other than that, worked great. The next system I am going to be checking out, which I just tried just for shits and giggles, was the C64 Mini. As you can see, it was a total fail. So here I'm going to be loading on my hacked version. I have Ultimate Mortal Kombat, just because I prefer that over Mortal Kombat 2. Even though all these 16-bit Mortal Kombat games I suck at royally. But honestly, you really don't need the 6 face buttons for Mortal Kombat. At least for me personally, I prefer the regular, 3 button, or even the Super Nintendo 4 face buttons and the 2 shoulder buttons. For I use the top left for block, but it runs great with the system. I have no complaints. So I'm just gonna show a little bit of footage there, and then we can go to the epic fail that was the C64. So this was just kind of a shot in the dark. The 2 systems that I knew was not going to work with was the C64 and the PlayStation, but just to try it out. So here it is, and the USB dongle reads it, the controller reads it, but the system does not. And then here is the PlayStation Classic. I have it hacked, but I didn't put the thumb drive in, just because I knew that this was going to be a 50-50. It was either going to work or not going to work, and if it did work, I knew it was going to be problematic. It reads the D-pad, but it does not read any of the face buttons. Maybe with the hacked version, I might be able to get it to work, but honestly, I only wanted it for Tekken, because I like to have the arcade feel of tapping the buttons and not having to use the shoulder buttons. But it was worth a try. And then the final one here was the RetroPie. Almost automatically it worked. I just had to hit the start button twice, which I didn't know completely at that time. Now I know, but it works flawlessly. Of course, it's a Pi, so you have to set up your own menus, or not menus, but map your buttons to coincide with the games that you're going to play. So here I'm going to try CastleMania, Symphony of the Night, or Circle of the Moon. So obviously Sega controller playing a Game Boy Advance controller wasn't going to be successful, but it works. So if you want to load this up with a bunch of arcade ROMs, this is a controller I would definitely recommend to use. So now you're just going to hear me ramble, or see me ramble, but I'm just going to talk over it. I'm basically just saying that if this is the kind of controller that you've always wanted, which is a Sega Saturn 8-button controller, and not have to worry about cords, I would definitely buy it, especially if you're a Sega nerd like me. The one caveat is the build quality, but for 35 bucks, and you can't go wrong. CastleMania games were very um, communicative with me. So any questions I had, they were super quick, and the even it being 2 months out, the tracking didn't take too long, and I honestly am happy with the product. So out of buy it, skip it, or borrow it, I would definitely buy it. So as always, I want to thank everybody for watching, and don't forget to keep it over 9,000. Take care.